Hi, this is Rich the Engineer Muni, PPA board member and Kentucky State Director, with this week's update on the fight for poker rights, plus a little Q&A. So first, the action on the fight. Have great news for everybody. On March 17th, John Campbell from California, Republican representative out there, has introduced H.R. 1174. This is a bill to license and regulate online poker and casino gaming. It's excellent that we're seeing some bipartisan support. Peter King is one of the initial co-sponsors. Barney Frank is a co-sponsor as well. He's a ranking member of the House Financial Services Committee. Um, and we'll expect Ron Paul to come on as well. So it looks like we're having nice, broad bipartisan support from the get-go, which is an excellent sign for us. It's a good sign that our membership has told the GOP that, just because a minority within the party wish to ban things like poker, it does not mean all conservatives want big government in this arena. A big step forward that we have taken has been in this area to convince both parties that they ought to just leave us alone and let us play. So I'm grateful that everybody's been writing, but we need to step it up now. So I encourage everybody to go to theppa.org/takeaction and take action. Just click the button to send the letters. There's one that goes to federal officials, there's one that goes to the state level officials. Send these out and you'll get action at the federal level, and you'll also keep getting these state bills because these are being generated from you. Every one of you who sends these out is telling your representative that you don't want them to try to have big government bans on your right to play. You don't need federal agents at your doorstep watching your internet, protecting you from yourself. And in fact, we're very proud to play. So I encourage everybody to take that step forward. And now we're getting a lot of questions, and I thought we have a nice opportunity here to just expand the webcast a little bit and answer some questions face to face. You can see me face to face. I want to try to do this more often, so we're going to have some threads on various forums. Want you to visit, think of tough questions. This is not a time to duck or to have easy questions. It's hard questions, so we're all on the same wavelength. First question that we have is a fairly standard one. Why are we doing what we're doing? Can't we just go to court and win this? Why don't we just have a big march and all of a sudden we'll magically have a right to play? Or best yet, why don't we just ignore it? Because you can play now, why not just assume that'll continue on 20 years from now? And the reality is, none of that is the way forward. In 2006, we lost this vote 3-1 at the House level, and that bill was tougher than UGEA. They actually had to strip it down to pass the Senate. That tells us where we stand when we do nothing, and we can't do that again. So I'm proud that this is the 5th year we're kicking off on this fight back. And it may be a couple of more years, but we need to stand strong for our rights if we ever hope to win this. There is no option where the government just lets it go, continues this reverse protectionism where only offshore sites can offer services and no US-based sites are permitted. That's just not reality, and we're seeing the reality now where some payment processors are being shut down. The Department of Justice is not letting up, and they're not going to let up. We need to not let up either. We need to continue advocating for our rights and come up with a good win-win solution, and the way to do that is to have US-based operators offering services plus the consumer benefits of having offshore ones as well. It's best for the poker player, best for the country, because we'll have sites based here be able to offer their services across the world as well. Nobody can argue with that except for someone who just doesn't like gaming in general and wishes to extend that to even to games of skill like poker. So let's stand up to that mindset and ensure that we're continuing the fight back. And that kind of gets in with some of the other questions that have come up on that point. What we can't do is assume that Congress assumes that most of America supports us. The fact is the opposite. I've been to the Hill several times, and in the past when this first started, they thought we were a fringe group. They thought Americans wanted to ban online poker. In their heart of hearts, they really thought they were doing what the American people wanted. Just because we want something doesn't mean everybody else wants the same thing. And I think it's important to remember how people think. It's like Sun Tzu says, know your enemy. We have to know how our adversaries think. And knowing your friends is important as well. We need to know what drives everybody, every player in this game. And that's how we're going to win this. And that's why we're on the Hill pushing for our positions. That's why we're lobbying, and that's why we're all writing and calling. What that does is starts to tell Congress, no, the people who say all of America wants to ban online poker are incorrect. Most Americans want liberty. It's a very, very small subset who wish to ban it. Another question that has come up is, what's the deal with the blackouts? Why would PPA ever support such a thing? And there's a reality behind it, and that's that whatever legislation that comes through is going to take some steps to ensure that US-based sites can at least get a fair shake to get into the game. They're not going to do it where the current sites have a substantial market advantage and substantial customer loyalty and kind of cede this market to offshore providers. They're going to take steps just like they would take with US-based manufacturing and any other place where you'd have US-based jobs. And we need to acknowledge that, but we don't want blackouts, of course. And to answer the question, I have put together a big white paper on different steps that could be taken that don't harm the player, but still permit us to bring the US-based interests and give them a level playing field. And I've provided that to PPA, and we're sharing that on the Hill as well. So we're definitely taking our steps. I play full time, and I'm in the same boat everyone else is in. The whole PPA board is very concerned about accessibility for us to be able to continue playing. But it's just the idea that we would say either we get all or nothing is too superficial, because we're not going to get everything. There are different interests, and they have their interests as well. If we go in and just say we don't care what you think, we only care what we think, we're not going to get anywhere. Because if we're fighting all or nothing, we're not going to get it all, and I'm not willing to settle for nothing. And very few of us are either. I know some people may be, but I honestly believe that once we're here, once we succeed, it's only going to go forward, because even if some states will opt out, that's unfortunate, but they'll see the success of the states that are participating, and they'll see the poker players in their states are just playing offshore on the sites that are choosing not to be licensed, and that's not in their benefit either. And they would like to have the control from legal standpoints, age verification, help for those with excessive gaming habits, to ensure that they have some control, and also to have sites based in their states be permitted to offer services as well. So it's in everybody's interest. But you have to get that ball rolling, and it's too much to assume that we have to do it in a one shot. What's important that we actually start winning some of these things. We're starting to win some House votes now. We're getting what we need to get from continuing our push forward. So that's the story with the blackout. And of course, in the era when it was proposed, you all have to remember that this is when control of the House is transitioning to Democrat to Republican, which isn't always a bad thing. I'm a Republican, and I'm a conservative, libertarian one. But keep in mind that the leadership in the House are the ones who have voted against us in the past. So the challenge there is changing their minds and bringing them on board to what we want. That's always harder than it is to take a fresh piece of paper and make that argument, rather than try to change positions that are already there, that have already been made. So it's important for us to keep in mind where we stood at that point, and the idea that we would actually oppose a bill and then try to come back the next year and look like, well, we're willing to take poker, but it has to be the perfect bill. All we would do is have the DOJ and some of our allies in Congress say, oh, these guys aren't for real on actually working with the needs of the country. And then where would we be? So I wanted to just have a frank discussion a little bit here on what happened there, because I know there have been some open questions. And just be assured, we all want the same thing. I want to get back a little bit to the status quo. You want to think about what it is. In reality, it's really reverse protectionism. US-based sites cannot offer services. Only offshore sites can. Only Congress could come up with laws that result in a situation like this. Nobody likes it. They don't like it. The people who wish to ban this don't like it. It's the U.S. casino interests don't like it. It's not in anybody's interest within Congress and within outside the player base. So this needs to go forward and change, and the idea that somehow this is going to continue on for 10 or 20 years with only offshore sites offering services is foolhardy. It's already clear with all the states making moves in this direction that that's not going to be the case. So that's where we stand on that. The next issue we have is CPAC. I had a couple of people ask about what were our goals, why would we go to a conservative function, what's going on there. And the reality is, it's important for us to plant our flag at all within the conservative movement. We need to start telling everybody there, and we have been for several years, that not every conservative wants to ban online poker. Not every conservative hates gaming, and in fact, a lot of them support the rights that we're seeking. We had a great turnout at CPAC. We had a lot of support out there. Greg Raymer did a wonderful job for us out signing autographs and preaching what we're talking about in terms of limited government. I spent all 3 days there. Love to go out there every year and really just preach what we're doing. We have the honor of co-sponsoring it now. It's very important. There's nothing more important that we can do is not to cede that ground to those who would wish to ban us. It's been in the GOP party platform since 2000, this plank against online poker. It was in the 2000 platform, the 2004 platform, and the 2008 platform, although we'd made a really good fight to keep it out, and it only got back in at the last minute. We need to keep that up so that we don't see this in 2012. And that's why we're there. But of course, we're a nonpartisan organization. That's why we're going to be at Netroots Nation in Vegas right after the World Series of Poker as well. So we're going to do the conservative side and the liberal side. Be assured of that. Next question, of course, is why should we support the upcoming bill? It's not perfect. Let's be clear. What we need to do is really continue building our support on the Hill so that even representatives who don't know the kind of specifics of each bill, they know, hey, a lot of people want to play online poker, and a lot of people definitely support the right to play. That's where we need to be on the Hill. And then if we get a poker-only bill later, or if we get this bill through, or if the banners come around looking for something tougher, then we can always say, look, we have a lot of support for the general position of online poker. So it's really important for everybody to step forward and support this bill. Also, it's a good bill. It's not perfect, but it sure beats where we're going to end up if we pass nothing, by far. So I encourage everyone to get that letter out and support it. The next question I had a question on media outreach. What are we doing? If you all recall, prior to UGA passing in 2006, pretty much everything you read in the media was all anti-online poker. Acted like it was problematic, it was offshore, everything bad was in it, and they just said it was illegal, basically, but it was being offered in violation of U.S. law. And they made it sound like playing was unlawful. They had no facts to back any of this up. These were just statements they made. These were not true. And they also made it sound like nobody supported the right to play, which is probably the worst transgression of the reporting we saw at the time. We never saw our position reflected in any of these articles. If you've all ever noticed, a lot of times when it comes to this type of issue, media tend to enjoy writing articles to explain, it's like a feel-good lesson that shows that it was bad to do some things like play poker. And we stepped forward and said, no, poker players are proud to play. It's an honorable game. You should support this. We do. And we did a good job of starting to get our opinion out there. Now every article you read, it always includes the other side, which is us, and they generally include statements from PPA. We also have different things we've been doing in that regard. I've read an article for BigGovernment.com where I explain why conservatives would wish to support our position. Again, it's just important not to cede this ground. So I'm glad we had a chance to go through some Q&A. I hope everybody will visit ppa.org/takeaction, send out those letters, and please visit the Poker Legislation Forum and post your questions up for the future webcast. Thank you very much.